Always falls forward. Always falls forward. There we go. All right, let me just tell him. Okay, hi everybody. 140. Best of my knowledge, Ham either has to be at the airport by 2 or his flight is at 2. I had another engagement that I could not avoid. So we'll see. I just texted him. If he can come on and be live, he'll come on live. I'm not going to talk about any of the stocks that I've recommended that are small stocks. You know, we can talk about DJT if you want to, or I'll answer questions. MMTLP, you know, things like that. GTII, I'm sure. But there's Root, ROOT. It's I don't know how high it went. I was away from my. Let's see. It went as high as $118. So it basically, after being destroyed by the criminals, and then doing a reverse split and whatever. Now the news says it's trading higher because of earnings. That doesn't have anything to do with it. That's just the excuse they make up. But clearly a short, nobody's selling, and a short got in trouble or whatever. So it made up about 50% of it by looking at the chart. Looks like it made up about 50% of the destruction of Van Wagner's markets and Guber Gensler's markets and Adina semi-good-looking Friedman's markets, and Robert Cook, haunches wider than his shoulder markets. Let's see what you got here. Hi, the one. Hi, Zizu. Hi, divinely created. Hi, Greens. Hi, John. Hi, Casey. Hi, Matt. Hi, Narad. Hi, Pilot to the Moon. Holy Root. Batman. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Eddie. Fast Eddie. I'm sure everyone calls you that. I don't know. It comes from that Pool character. I don't know what's happened with the case with Alpine, but Aaron, I'm really suspicious of all players in GTII, except, you know, the handful we trust. I think the shorts won in GTII, and I don't think the case against Alpine is has been dismissed. I don't think, but I no longer think it's going to cause a short squeeze. I think receivership kills all possibilities of a short squeeze. Now, if you can argue, if someone can argue to me why a receiver or the judge overseeing the receiver the receiver's not going to voluntarily leave this receivership. He's going to become a very wealthy man if he can find assets that were stolen. He gets 10% of everything. So his incentive is for himself. And I mean, he can say, well, you couldn't do it without me. Sorry. I think anybody could do it. With the court's backing, I think anybody could do it. But 10% is a huge incentive. Let's just say, I mean, for sake of argument, I don't know the case that was filed, but let's say that David Reichman misallocated or misappropriated 100 million shares when it was trading at $4. I don't know how it works, so you can correct me, but I'm just going through the mental exercise. If that's $400 million he stole, and that's found out by the court that that's true, I think he'll fight it and he'll have something to say about it. That's $40 million that goes to the receiver. 40 million. I don't know how recoverable it is. That's going to be the other issue. But you can see that the incentive is there for the receiver to leave it in receivership for as long as possible, for the court to make sure that the most amount of assets become receiver assets, receiver stolen assets, whatever the legal terms are, and then the receiver can put his hands on 10% of that. He's going to be a wealthy man on this theft, on your losses. But hey, that's how the system works. And I'm not grateful. I'm not grateful for him to take 10%. If I were doing it, I might take a little money to keep the roof over my head and pay if I had to go to court or something. But I'd put, if there were such a thing as that 10%, I'd put it in a kitty for shareholders or for hard cases that really had a tough time. Or I just leave it in the corpus. But that's not how it works here. The receiver wants his cut. The lawyers want their cut. Everybody is going to be a carnivore over the skinny lamb. That's how it is. So I don't think there'll be a short squeeze. Now, if the case of Alpine comes through while this court case is, the receivership is going on, where's the squeeze? There's no squeeze. There's no squeeze. It'll increase how much more money the receiver can make and the lawyers can make, and maybe the judge gets a few nicks in too. I don't know. But I don't find it thrilling at all. And if a legitimate company wants to come into this company, they're crazy. They're crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, the whales might say, we'll go ahead and do this, but I would submit to you that as the whales take a gander, it'll be better to go somewhere else, play somewhere else. Guys, when you lose in a trade, and I lost in GTII, I lost. When you lose, you can keep wishing that it's going to get better. And it might. You've got good people fighting here. And I'll tell you what, there's some satisfaction in getting the criminals and finding it out. I go all for that. And I'll keep fighting. But there's another aspect that, hey, you can get up to 50% of this back in tax losses, carry forwards, and you can start trying to make those monies back. There was a chance at a squeeze. I continue to believe that the Kramers worked with, whether it was through other parties or through an investment bank, they corrupted or hired Frank Benedetto, Lou Bravo, and Gus Fliakos at Cosmos, and they popped the bubble. But I had an opportunity. I could have gotten out at 8 or 7. But I still thought that the squeeze was in play, listening to him, listening to the numbers. And, you know, the way I reconcile it now is partly what I just described in terms of taking your losses, but also, hey, I can spend my energy better somewhere else. My first goal is make back the money I invested, and then maybe there's another play that can give me outsized returns. But if I spend my life on this loser from a trading standpoint, I don't see where I get. Now that's my reaction. Aaron, I am completely willing to be corrected by attorneys, by people who are smarter than me, by the strategy that Trento Mines has. But that's how I see it. I think GTII is going to be buried in the court for a long time while the receiver collects a monthly amount and makes sure that he can put his hands on 10% of the largest number he can. That's his incentive. Let's not sugarcoat it. His incentive is to get 10% of as many assets as he can get recorded through the court. And it's not going to take him 30 days. It's not going to take him 60 days. It's not going to take him 90 days. It's going to take him as long as he bloody well. And he's going to be paid to do it. He'll submit monthly amounts to the court, and it'll come out of whatever cash GTII has. So he'll be paid to increase his payoff. Now he'll argue he's helping you. Well, don't count on it. You and I are equity. Equity, well, see, this is where I'm not a lawyer. But in bankruptcy, as equity, as usual, we're the ass end of the totem pole. We're just hanging out there to get taken advantage of. Bankruptcy court is for creditors. As far as I can tell, receivership is for receivers and for lawyers, and maybe the judge. And if there's something left over, great. What is the asset that GTII has? It has two things. It has potentially an enormous short position that needs to be covered, and you could see something like Root or HKD or a small one like GME. Every time that squawking chicken comes on, it goes up 5 points. You could see something like that, but when? The other asset GTII has is, I think, a very powerful group of whales who want to stick it to the shorts and the man. And the whales seem to think the way you do, which is fine. It's fine. I'm just so jaded. It took me years of winning and losing to just realize the best thing is just sell it, take it off the screen, as Sam says, and move on to another opportunity. But the typical retail client, which I'm one, will say, I got to make my money back. I lost it in that stock. I got to make it back in that stock. I don't see it that way anymore. I'll take my loss, try to make it back elsewhere. I can reconcile the two, but it's going to be easier to make money in other stocks than GTII. The other asset GTII has potentially, I already said the potential large short position. I already said the committed whales who should be committed maybe. And then I would include you guys and me as one of the whales collectively. But the third thing GTII has is there are some motivated people like the Trento guys who want to bring in an asset and take advantage of what Ham calls GameStop money. And that's a real thing. Those are all real things. But for me, until that stock stops trading on the so-called expert market, I feel like everything's frozen and I'm not going to do anything because you're just going to get screwed. It's hard to explain to you unless you've traded a lot. And I'm not talking down to you. It's just hard to explain. But if the bid is, let's say, a penny and the ask is 9 cents, but you don't know about it, you might go in the middle. Let's say you go in to buy shares at 3 cents. They're not going to fill you. The only way they're going to fill you is if the ask comes down to 2 cents, and they'll take advantage of you. It's not a fair setup. It's designed to rip you off. So if GTII were to catch up on its filings, which in all fairness, the receiver might be able to get done, and the whales will pay for, it'll start trading again with a bid and an ask. And you might be able to trade it, buy the dips, sell the rips, all that. But I don't think a ruling in the Alpine case is going to cause a squeeze as long as it's in receivership. And I think the whole thing is controlled by the shorts. I think Lou Rhubarb was a plant by the shorts. I don't know this attorney, so I can't question her, or don't know the name. But I find it all suspicious that GTII has ended up exactly where the shorts want it. Don't throw me in the briar patch. It's in receivership. That's exactly where the shorts want it. And I don't trust it. I think it doesn't matter if you're a whale. If you're essentially a retail client, you have no idea what's going on. And everyone wants to trust Wall Street. Everyone wants to trust that everyone here is on our side. Everyone listens to all the advice, like Double D on MMTLP. Nobody loves me but my mother. And even she might be, I forget the words, she might even be jiving me. She might even, anyway, you know the song. You know the thing. I don't trust anybody in this. The corruption is everywhere. And then if they can get individuals' motives to spin off individually from all of us, well, there you go. All I can say to you, and I've been consistent, I was asked to be CEO of GTII. I said yes, and I would have done things to make you first. I don't think anybody else is out there trying to do that. But I'm not trying to make myself some glorious guy. It probably makes me stupid. It probably explains why I'm single. It probably explains why my dad used to yell at me that you're not tough enough for business. Maybe. I don't know. But it just would seem the only fair thing is to look out for shareholders. I don't think anyone sincerely is looking out for shareholders in GTII. They say it because that's the mandate. But I don't. Anyway, it's a long, long answer. The best thing to do with GTII right now, wait. If in fact it starts trading again, maybe you can do something. If in fact there's an update that's good for you, pay attention to the receiver. Hear his side of it, because he knows what he's doing. Hear Richard's side, not legal advice. Listen to Trento Mines tomorrow on the space call. And maybe the whales will come out of the goodness of their heart to help you. But my experience, when big money gets involved, they cram you down. Receivers cramming you down from 100% down to 90%. And I'm sure that lawyer might come in with class action that crams you down to 50%. And the judge might in there to spank you on the bottom and make you cry as well. Maybe that's 5% to the judge for all of her hard work. I don't know. I just think it's a I guess there could be a lawsuit, and there could be civil and criminal, and there could be double, triple payments, and it could come to you. Well, all that's going to come. And I don't think either one of you is going to hire an attorney. But all that's going to come. It'll be a class action, regardless of what you do. So, all right, here's Sam. Here's Sam. All right, are you at the airport?
Yep, you live?
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
All right, so everyone, so DJT, they came out with the old fake story today. If you notice, they timed it perfect. They first knocked the stock down yesterday to get it down low. And then they followed it up with the story today that the shorts covered. That is completely a false. These guys are just trying to get the stock to go down so they can come back and scoop it all up and take out the longs and the speculators. That's what they want. They don't want anybody here. CNBC's a disgrace for posting a story or talking about a story about that. They have no evidence that the shorts are covered. You can tell the shorts covered in root. They got roasted alive. That shorts covering. One day up to 120, and it's dropped back down to what, 85, whatever it is. That's shorts covering in a panic. For stock going up $6, $7, that's not the panic that you see in root. That is a complete short and distort. They say the stock's going to 4 if Trump loses. I mean, you talk about making statements. All right, so I'm telling you, I think the stock's going to 4 to 500 because they think they're trying to stop that from happening. And the guy, whoever put the story out, said that the SEC will never let another at the GameStop happen. Well, it just happened today in Root. Went from 40 to 120. I don't know about you. Up 100 points is pretty, 80 points is pretty powerful moves. All right, so the SEC is full of shit. CNBC is full of shit. The shorts are trapped here. They're trying to cover for somebody, and they're trying to knock it down. I told you the data said the short was north of $1 billion. Let's say they covered 100 million. They still got a long way to go. All right. I think that they buy the dips here. If you want to buy cheap calls and speculate, tomorrow the stock could be up another 20. I don't know where it's going to be. But these guys are criminals. You can see it, and it's just amazing that it continues. And that's what you're fighting here. So you got to be ahead of the curve and understand how this works. And that's why when the stock was going crazy, I had people selling it. William said yesterday, someone came on the call and said they were getting killed in DJT. Mm-hmm. How did you get killed? How? You were buying it when we said it. I mean, the stock was at the bottom. When you venture out by yourself, you get slaughtered. That's what happens. That's what that gentleman did, whoever it was. All right, so you got to be careful when you enter these things. I had a friend of mine that bought stock yesterday, William. I had a couple of people bought it at 37, 38, 39. This morning, they all sold it out. And they all bought it back again at 35, 36.
Well, that's your mantra, right? Buy the dip, sell the rip.
Well, that's what they did. They did it this morning at 7:30. They called me. They thanking me that they made, $4 on stock. That was before the opening. They did that.
Right.
You mean?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
I think he's at the airport.
Hey, William.
Yeah.
They're asking for 15 people to give up their seats for money on my flight.
You need to go visit the money.
JetBlue has naked shorted our seats, and now we have no seats.
We do have seats.
I'm not saying we can sell our seats. How's that? The airlines naked short seats. Go see what it is.
They won't give you more than 800. I think you got to go. Let somebody else sell.
800, I'll be at Il Molino tonight if they give me 800 a ticket.
Yeah, they won't give you that much.
Here you go. They got naked shirted seats on an airline, and 15 people that came for this flight are now stuck without a seat. Unless you get a cheap bastard like me selling my seat. I can't help but make it a quick profit. I mean, so there it is. Naked short selling a seat on an airline. We talked about that. It's the same thing that's going on, and it's the whole world is upside down. But the airlines, if they naked shorted my $400 ticket and pay me $1,000 to get back, at least they're taking a loss on it, right? On Wall Street, they just let it go on, and guys like Jeff Easton and other people like Ken Griffin could just steal, become wealthy, and screw everybody and couldn't care less. And the SEC.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. I not legal advice. I trust you 100%, and I never have said anything badly about you at all. Complete opposite. Complete opposite. And you can ask. I don't know if you were here yesterday, but I said the one person people could trust is not legal advice, and that he seemed to be the only person doing things on behalf of shareholders. That's my opinion. But I'm sorry if you already hung up, you hung up. But I've never said a bad word about you, ever. I hope you heard it. Sorry, Am. Go ahead. He's hearing that I don't trust people involved, everybody involved in the short selling game. I don't. I trust you. I trust Richard. Trust a handful of people, but most people I don't trust.
Don't worry about that. There's nothing to say. Let it play out. The big holders are financing it. They have Richard, running point for them, helping them out, getting them information. Let it go. You can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it. Richard has awful jokes. That's a fact.
He wants me to use my words more carefully. And I thought I did, but I never said a bad word about Richard Hoffman.
No one hears
the exact opposite. I think Richard Hoffman is the true crusade. That's the wrong word, but the true angel, the true yeoman, the hardest working. 100%.
God. 100% saved our opportunity in GTII, and the big holders all agree with them and are here.
Yeah,
Richard Hoffman started this.
I didn't say anything. Anyway, I apologize if I do. I'm not giving a weasel apology. I apologize for misusing my words. I never intended to say I don't trust.
Don't worry about it. He knows that. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. It's pretty strong wording. Pretty strong wording.
Yes. No. Anyway, don't listen. This game is getting long in the tooth. Everyone's had enough of it. Whether it's Richard, you, me, we all had enough of it. The fraud is a disgrace. You're just watching it. If you think they fuck around in finger motion, just look what they did to DJT. That's the president, the next president of the United States stock. And you think that he's not going to step in and fix this and run these guys over? The attacks today are telling you they're in a desperate state. Because that is complete bullshit. Stocks don't go flying down like this. They did it yesterday, and they needed to protect what they did yesterday, so they drove it down even further. Or else this thing would have popped back over 50 already. That's what they're doing. There's not even a question what they're doing here. Everyone's talking about that. I forget the stock that's a big supplier to NVIDIA. That that 10% of their revenue comes from this company. I forget the name of the company. SGMI, something like that. I forget what it's called. 70 something. I tell people what to go short NVIDIA. They won't do it because the company has fundamentals and institutional players there. So what they do is they only play in spots where the people are weak, the holders are weak. They know they can manipulate it, and that's what they do. So again, if you want to go play like the big boys go, you go short NVIDIA. But you know what? Everyone knows that the company's earnings are going to take a hit if the other companies are fraud, blah 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 blah, whatever it is. That's over my head. And you know what? Real short, the stock Nvidia is what, 150 bucks, 140 bucks. I said they're out here shorting finger motion at $1.85, $1.90. That just shows you that the shorts in these names are frauds. DJT, the shorts in that stock, they need volatility. I keep telling you every day, volatility is how people get to sell. You see the volatility in finger motion? Zero. I see the manipulations, the slow little meltdown here, but they need volatility. DJT, the volatility, they pushed it down to 12, just like I told you, they're going to come back screaming for it. They did. They screamed it back up to 57. They were choking at 57. What did they do? They do the attack to create the volatility, to get people to bail out. They shaped the tree. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that fell out of the tree that thought it, they bought it, they were going to just cash out. That's not how it works. These guys are criminals. Finger motion, I see the same pattern happening that what happened in Root. That stock was up 100, it was up 45 this morning. Up 45 this morning on 170,000 shares. That's the naked short selling getting crushed. Up 170, there's no sellers. That's how you get crushed. And that's what I expect in finger motion. You're going to get up 50, then 30, and 40. That's how it's going to go. It's not going to be this trading like you see in DJT, up 3, pull back, up 6, up 4. That's not going to happen. This is going to be an express. All right? And when Jeff Easton loses his cover, whoever's holding him back, whoever's protecting him, obviously there's something going on that they just got to keep moving it down a few pennies a day. There's something going on that they need to keep it at a certain level. There's no selling, but they just keep trying to go back and forth. I put up before, William. Today's fraud selling is $50 a share, 50 shares, 50 shares, 50 shares, 50 shares. That somebody broke it down to sell 50 shares like a machine gun. Same stupid, this is not the stock market, it's the casino. But we know we have them. These guys are trapped. And it's so funny that today the market's selling off and stocks like K&W and GMGI have found buyers today. The two stocks that are under complete control of Jeff Easton and Lynn Partners and their naked short selling friends. But those stocks found buyers the last 2 days with the market selling off. Both those companies, no matter what the fundamentals are, you could sell a stock. Lynn's going to sell it short at whatever price it is, and they're going to buy it back at a penny. That's how it works. They don't go down in a straight line. They need to get people to step in and buy it. The people are buying that stock. I posted. I'm trying to help them out. You can go buy it. If you think that you're going to win, I could care less. But at least understand the terms of the death spiral note. It's right there. And not only did K&W bring Lynn, they brought Benchmark. The two of them tag teaming it together. And these guys, someone's pushing the stock. They're trying to hold it up. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lynn just watching trades, trying to move it back up, trying to scoop up whatever they can, because they're trying to show strength so people will come in and start buying it. Well, buyer beware. That's all I can tell you. If you got a complaint, call the SEC up and ask them about Lynn Partners, and they're an unregistered toxic lender. Just go look at their past. Everything they do, start with SYTA. Stock's 95 down to $1. That's the devastation there. They actually did it to Root. I posted all the stuff on Root many times. Root was 25. They drove it to below $1. They reversed it back up to 25, drove it back down to 8. My friend owned the IPO. It was the biggest IPO in the state of Ohio. Wiped it out. And my friend owned it. He lost who knows how much money. He had 200,000 shares. I think he paid 25 to 27 for it in the IPO. I don't even know what he has left. But it is what it is. This is what it is. I showed you Root. I pointed it out 100 times. I even put up my little, the little picture of it, recapping it, what they did. I mean, it doesn't make a difference what it is. Roots and insurance, DJ teams, in the social media space, finger motion in China, this CBM and medical. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. They just sell in counterfeit shares. And I mean, there's nothing more I can tell you. So I really do think that DJT ever goes green today, forget it. It'll scream. And you can see the stock is at, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And and the stock selling is basically stopped. It's just manipulation. How many times can people sell the same stock? Right? How many times can you sell it? They get tired of selling, and then the stock starts to rise like a cake. Let's see what happens into the close. I don't think people are afraid buying into the close. It's only 4 trading days down to 3 trading days. Okay? And everyone knows the story. If people betting that Trump is going to lose and the stock's going below 4, I mean, talk about making up a story. Why does it deserve to go below 4? Because Trump loses? I don't know. They raised a lot of money. They got a company that's doing something, right? Devin Nunes is the leader. Why are they saying $4? If Microsoft has fraud, it's worth $1, right? How about you say that? That's basically what they're saying. Saying nonsense. Listen, the whole thing is criminal. You're involved in the stock market. You can make money on it, but you better be smart and understand what we've been telling you. Learn the signs, how to make money from the stock market. The signs are pretty easy. I'm sure if I got a few people on the phone that I've been helping out, they'll tell you exactly what I've done for them and show them how to navigate the stock market. All right, making a couple of thousand a day is pretty nice. It covers up your losing trades, which everyone has. It lowers your costs on things, and that's what it's about. Any questions, William? Because I'm getting close to half the board.
No, I think people are pissed off what I said about not trusting people on the short side. Do you think it's a good day? The biggest question here, do you think it's a good day to buy some more DJT?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why, if you're nervous, you go buy calls, because then you can only lose what you want. Listen, when the stock ran to 57, I told everyone I know in the free world to sell it. The highest I sold stock to someone was 55. Everyone sold it. Everyone's buying it back. And people bought it yesterday at 40, 41. They sold it this morning at 43. I told them to flip it again. Pull back to 35, you buy it back. Remember, the buybacks, buy the dip, sell the rips, are different levels all the time. They change. So when it opened at 43, closed yesterday, someone I know bought it at 37 in the aftermarket last night, sold it at 44 this morning, 43 or something like that. Just keep chopping away, $1 here, $2, $3, whatever you can grab. And you keep lowering your costs, and you take that profit, and you can buy cheap calls. If they go to 0, you made $3 and you lost 1. Big deal. That's the way to game. Go to a casino. You don't win every hand in blackjack.
I do.
That's how you gotta stay alive. That's the game.
I feel like I win when I lose.
All right. Well, again, Big Motion has 0 selling. They have nowhere to go. They just keep trying to move it for a penny here and there, hoping that people bail out. That's all it is. They traded 88,000 shares. And if it wasn't, I guarantee you the short today was probably at least 45%. Because I know a few people that have been buying it. And if they're buying it, that means they're shorting it. And all they're doing is trying to put, it's like, if you think about it, the old days, the old movies, they used to put the witches and put a board on them and put stones on them, and the weight would crush them. That's all they try to do. All right, put more sales onto it, sell more, put the weight on. Again, the company's business cannot be shut down by the short sellers in China. Pat Burns said they called his suppliers and they tried to get him to shut him down. He told you point blank if they tried to do that. They can't do that in China. So where are they going? They can't stop their business opportunities. They can't do it. Anyway, listen, everyone, I have to run. I'll touch base tomorrow.
Thanks. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, I'm going to end this call because I've obviously screwed up. I'll answer a couple of these first. Richard said he left, and I'm sorry for that. But to be clear, the attorney, I'm not casting aspersions on any one person. I don't know. Apparently, according to Richard, the receiver only gets 10% on recovered assets. That's a lot different than, but I don't know what that means. It doesn't change my point that the incentive for the receiver is to go after all the assets he can find. Who knows how it'll be covered? And I'm trying to answer a question by someone yesterday. Are they going to get a company to go in? Is it going to start trading right? You know, all these questions. To me, it means the receiver is motivated to take as much time as it takes. Now, that might be on the side of shareholders. It might not. So I think I should stop giving my opinion because I'm not an attorney. I'm sure the receiver's motives are 100% to do the right thing. And in terms of the lawyer I was talking about, it's some lawyer out of, I think, Arizona or Nevada. As far as I know, Richard's not making any money from anybody doing this. I wasn't talking about Richard. I'm talking about that attorney. But if you guys think that the amount of money here doesn't spin around so that people introduce attorneys, introduce IR guys, introduce CEOs to come in and it all works with the short sellers, I think you're naive. And look, I will admit, lawyers are, and Richard's a far bigger gentleman than I am, but lawyers are trained only to say what the evidence shows. And if it doesn't show it, you can't assume it, because lawyers are taught that everyone, at least in the milieu of a courtroom, everyone's a gentlewoman, everyone's a gentleman. I don't find that on Wall Street, and I'm not a lawyer. And so some people ask me to give what I think's going on, and I answer it. And in my own defense, and I hate it. I can't tell you how much I hate it. From CAUD to another trade I can't tell you about, to GTII a year ago, to the guy with 3 first names, to CRTD doing a 1 for 500 split. These things, when people ask me to give my projection, so far, I haven't been wrong. And it's not because I'm some frickin' genius. It's because I'm willing to look at it and say, this game is rigged, and I don't trust any single one of them. But the person I do, one of the people I do trust, and I've said it before today, I think I said it yesterday, is Richard Hoffman. I trust him completely. Completely. And there's some of the whales involved in GTII I totally trust. Totally. But do I think the whole system is corrupted? Look, when you have, what the frick is the name of that law firm? I can't remember the name of the law firm. It's not Baker Hostetler. Anyway, a white shoe law firm represents the Kramers. The top partner represents Kurt Kramer. And that same law firm represents the SEC and represents FINRA. You don't think something is going on? I don't trust any of it. I think it's all a setup. And I think the Alpine case was a setup. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I value Richard Hoffman 100%. And now I've said something that cast doubt on him, which I did not. So it teaches me I should just keep my mouth shut on GTII. But I will say this, it's with the attorneys now. And I'm not talking about Richard. It's just with the court system. And if you want to trade that, go ahead and trade it. I've never found that equity comes out ahead in through the court system. I've never found that. This might be the exception. But I'm going to shut up about GTII. I highly recommend that you follow Richard Hoffman. I think he is the one guy who is working hard, and you can trust that what he tells you and what he finds and his motives are on your side. 100%, without a doubt. Everybody else, I trust them all. I'm not going to say anything bad. They're all gentlemen. They're all gentlewomen. In terms of financial advice, on which I can't give you individually, I can make it as an educational thing. I would treat, after availing myself of an accountant or a lawyer, I would look to take my losses in GTII, so I could get the benefit against future or current gains or future income. But I'm not going to talk about GTII anymore. I'm mad at myself that I was misspoke. I had no intention of misspeaking, but clearly I did, and I'm upset about that. Now, in terms of these other stocks that I've talked about, I'm not going to talk about them it'll become evident when I can. If there's news out, I'll talk about the news. Otherwise, I'm not going to talk about them. I don't expect that to last much longer, a week, 2 weeks, a month. I don't know. And I'm not alerting you to anything either. I'm just saying that I did not realize that you all want explicit information. I've kind of tried to guide things with my best intuition and what I think, but because I was trained on Wall Street, I never share material information. If someone came to me and said, I slept with the manager's wife and I regret it, I'm never going to tell anybody. Other people would, but I don't. If they come and say, you know what I heard, the CEO, my client, let's say my client is the CEO of a home builder and he starts selling, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not. And I just don't want to get in that position right now that it looks like I somehow by trying to guide and trying to maybe suggest, that could be interpreted as a couple of you did, that when I don't talk about something, there's something wrong or whatever. It's a shitty conundrum and I don't like it. So I'm not going to talk about those 5 stocks for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever it takes. But it'll end. It'll end. Then I'll be able to talk. Do not take from it that I think anything is wrong. But I guess I didn't realize that my body English cannot be interpreted. You want explicit information. And if I ever had explicit information, I couldn't share it. So anyway, I just want to make sure that there's clarity that any information I'm giving is not material, non-public, insider information. And that's just that. I mean, the shorts can do it all day long. The shorts can do it. The criminals can do it because that's what Ann Wagner has set up. In terms of the call tomorrow for Trento Mines, I'm not going to be on that call, but I highly recommend that you be on it. I'm going to stop talking about GTII. I don't think I can add any value at all. You can establish tax losses, which I've talked about for well over a year. but you don't need my advice to do it. It's pretty simplistic. You can just contact your own professionals. And in terms of legal, I don't know what, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I think you should listen to the excellent advice of Richard Hoffman. And if the receiver gives you advice, listen to him. I've always found him to be honest, and I've always found him to be precise, which is good. But I don't think it takes away from what the question was that I was asked. Are things going to happen quickly? I think the receiver's incentive is as I described. Does that make him a bad guy? No. But I don't know. You just got to look at it. I also think the court system is set up to just delay. And I think Reichman's not through with the court system. And I believe, bottom line, that the legal courts is exactly where the shorts want everything. And I don't think they're going to let it out of the court system quickly. Do you think that the Alpine case was not directed by the shorts? I don't. Anyway. All right, let's see if there's any other questions. Do I still hold GTII? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Doesn't matter. But yes, I still have GTII. If it were to trade again, in all likelihood, I would sell it for the write-off. But that's not what you should do. You have to make your own decisions. I have no hope for GTII. Zero hope for GTII. I think once the stock goes into bankruptcy or receivership, it's over. That's my opinion. Look, if there's a strategy, or if the whales want to do something out of the goodness of their heart and make money, that could be different. But I think the whales will want to get the maximum benefit out of their money for themselves. There's a concept called alignment of interests. Alignment of interests. And anyway, it's self-explanatory. I'm not going to explain it. My shares are locked in the lawsuit. Well, I was thinking while Ham was talking, that's one of my frustrations. As soon as Ham is talking, I can't really talk. But I think he heard when I said the lawyers or something like that. I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about, you could talk about MMTLP. I don't know who to trust. So I start from the assumption I don't trust. But then there are a handful of people I do. And Richard is certainly one of them. Certainly. And his associate, JR, certainly. And anyway, I can't win. There's no way to win in this conversation. Yes, I think DJT, I don't have any money, but I think DJT is a buy. But let me give you a caution. It is exactly at my support level. And I've shown you the chart, $35. And not like I'm a genius, but my support. If it breaks under 35 hard, maybe it's over. I don't know. But yes, I think DJT is a buy. I think it's going to go over 70. I think it's going to go over 100. I have a huge caveat. Huge caveat. I'm reading a lot of headlines that say internal polls at the Trump organization are disappointing Republicans. I think it's made up. I'm reading a lot of headlines that say Kamala Harris is outperforming. I think it's made up. We have an election that should end on Tuesday. It will not end on Tuesday. Nevada's going to take 3 more days minimum. Michigan's going to take 1 more day minimum. I bet Georgia is going to be a nightmare. I bet North Carolina might be. I bet Gretchen Whitmire in Wisconsin might be. So sometime over the next weeks, our election is going to come to a conclusion. I think there could be a war, whether it's in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, or Southeast Asia. A war would mean possibly that our election is put on hold and Kamala is moved up to commander-in-chief. I see that as one possibility. The other possibility comes down to 2 words, 3 words, 4 words. Too big to rig. So the election is going to come down to rig or big. It's going to come down to that. It's not democracy. It's not policies. It's not. Is it going to be rigged or is it going to be too big? And this stock might be telling you that there's Wall Street guys and people in the know who think something's going to happen and Trump's not going to be president. Having said all that, I like what Ham said, what Ham told you, that CNN's publicized, that they're saying the shorts are all covered. To me, ignoring the political, because that's a caveat, but just looking at what they're doing, they're out there, I think, falsely saying the short's covered. I think it's a setup for that stock to go over 70. And if it goes over 70, who knows where it stops? So yes, I would buy it here. I would buy calls here with money that, and I'm not giving you individual advice, I can't, but I would buy calls with full knowledge I could lose everything. But man, what a return. I think the stock could double. Look, probably none of you are going to watch because Ace is going to be live, but I think I'm going to go live just for my sanity election night. If Trump wins Virginia, if Trump turns New Hampshire, if Trump gets New Jersey, New Mexico, you could see the election called for Trump Tuesday night, and I think Wednesday morning DJT could open at $100. So it's not a perfect trade. There's uncertainty. You could lose, but risk reward, I think this is a good entry point. Whitmire's Michigan. Who's Wisconsin? Grissom? No, who's Wisconsin? I don't know. Let me look it up. Scott Walker. Yeah, that's it. Scott Walker. I think he's a rhino. Maybe Wisconsin, thank you, Olin. Maybe Wisconsin is a place that Trump could win, but those three states for something like 30 years, 40 years have all voted together. I agree with you, Big Vic. And so the time to establish your position is while there's blood in the streets. It's down at 35. The premiums are off of the calls. And I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with Travis. I wouldn't over pay. Otherwise, you just miss the trade. But right now is a good time in terms of premiums and risk reward. Um, if I had the money, I might go out and buy 3 sort of at the money calls, or buy 10 or 15 out of the money, but near, knowing I could risk all the capital could go to zero. But and then sell a third of it once the third gives me my original capital back. But I don't have the money to do it. Well, all in, that's an interesting point. I think um, the Republicans will sit by in the near term. The Trumpsters, if the election is stolen, I think the Trumpsters, you know, will be hurt and angry and all that, but I don't think there'll be rioting in the streets or any kind of civil unrest initially, anyway. You know, I'm talking about for months, for years. If Trump wins, I fully expect Antifa and those types will go downtown and start riots, and I think it'll be a nightmare. I think this is very likely our last election as a 50-state country. That's something Elon Musk has said, but where I got that from many, many months ago is a guy named Martin Armstrong. Now, he doesn't say it this time. He says it might be the next presidential election, but I think it'll be now, because I agree with you. We've had at least 2, if not 4, elections which are so close that when the one side wins and then they lord it over the rest, you can't stay together. There's no respect. But all in, I think what's going to happen is the country's going to fall apart. I think there'll be sort of a California country, like California, Oregon, Washington, and maybe a little bit of blue somewhere like Colorado. Illinois, I don't know how they will connect the country. Maybe it'll go through New Mexico. And then I think there's going to be a red country from the Midwest, the West, and the South. Texas might secede first. It'll probably be led by Texas. That might even go up into the western part of Canada, because I think Canada is unstable as well. And then there'll be another blue country, which will be led by, I don't know, Vermont, led by Massachusetts, but it'll go all the way down to DC, where I am. It'll go up to Maine. It'll go over to Chicago, and I don't think it'll include Virginia. It might include Alexandria and Fairfax, Virginia, but I think the country will split apart if Republicans feel that this election was stolen. I think the country's going to split apart. I think Democrats, if Trump wins, it's not because the election was stolen. It'll be because so many people voted that the Democrats cheating got overwhelmed. That's my opinion. But if Trump wins, I don't think the country will fall apart. I think the election results will not be certified. I think the J6 charges will be put against Trump. I think the House, which only has 5 seats at risk, there's only 5 seats in the House, totally toss up. I think the House, they will go in and get some rhinos, and the House will vote that Trump is an insurrectionalist, and they won't let him be president. And the House will pick the next president, and it'll probably either be Kamala Harris or Nikki Haley. I don't think it'll be Hillary. Might be. It'll be a woman, and it'll be someone that the rhinos and the Democrats can agree on. Maybe Liz Cheney, nightmare of nightmares. But I'm really worried about whether or not they're going to let Trump be president. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, that's a long answer all in. Kamala has the intelligence of an almost beautiful woman navigating the world of men. Men have helped her every step of the way. She's lied about being black. She's not black. She's apparently a, I think, Syrian Jew, white Irish, and top caste, the highest caste system out of India, which, by the way, Indians call themselves Caucasian. So she's not black. Her wealth from the slave trading side of her family, they paid off that side of the family when they lost the slaves. The British did. So she pretends, but very powerful men have given her positions. And I think she's a pretty good actress. I think she's a pretty good summarizer of talking points. She's got the skill of a woman to blame it on the man and to turn it around and get indignant. I'm speaking now. But there's something. How was she the one when Representative Clyburn told Biden, I'll get you Carolina against Bernie Sanders. I'll make sure you win South Carolina as long as you appoint a black woman, an African American woman. How is it that they chose an Indian woman as black? I don't know. So there's some sort of power behind her, and there's got to be some sort of skill or willingness to sell herself out. I think she's also a narcissist who can lie very easily, but loves to be the center of attention. Well, yeah, that might be. It might also be she talks about how her mother introduced her, and she had friends, I think in New York. One of them she called uncle, who was African American. This is according to Candace Owens. That's a strange way. That means if I say that I had one of my friends is African American, therefore I'm black. It's weird. It's weird. All my GTII shares are locked up, 100K plus. Well, I think, Andy, let me just tell you on 100K, I don't know what you paid. Let's say you paid $2. That's $200,000. That's a shitload of money. But let's not talk about it as if it's GTII. Just say it's any stock that's trapped. You can write it off. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. But you can't sell it. So I believe, based on information and belief, that you can write it off. I think it has to be done in writing. Maybe you need a lawyer to do it. Maybe you need an accountant. but I think you got to write it down anyway. So if you write it off, you write off 200,000 in losses, and I assume it's long term. So your cost basis becomes 0, and your clock starts at day 1 again. But let's say you make money in, I don't know, let's say you make money in, let's say you owned Root, and you owned 1,000 shares, and you sold it today, and you made $100,000. Well, first, your short-term losses match off against your long-term. That would be a short-term gain. And I think it would be roughly 2 to 1. You would be able to write your long-term losses against your short-term gain. Anyway, you'd save 50 grand. Well, probably 25 grand on your taxes. You can write off against 3 grand of your income every single year. It has value. I know it's not exciting, but writing it off gets you something that you can use when you have gains later. But don't listen to me. Get professional advice. I just put the idea in your head. I was looking for measured advice, but stumbled 4chan circa 214. Don't listen to the political stuff, Spiny. I know you're more for Kamala. Maybe. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I'll tell you this. Once the election's over, I won't be talking about it anymore. I do think it's important to understand that this election is extremely relevant to the financial markets going forward. I know you think Trump's a misogynist, Hitler and all that, but I don't think it matters who's president in terms of what happens with our debt and with inflation and with gold and silver. But I do think the very idea of American empire, American strength, and American power is at risk. And if that makes me circa 2014, I think circa 2014, I was rooting for Bernie Sanders. I think that's about the right time frame. And I think that's right. Candace owns Shed a Good Life. Yeah, I know. Candace is doing, but the mainstream media won't follow it. Kamala is not black. Yeah, Matt, I'm not sure Bernie was the right choice in retrospect, but it might have been. Look, I voted for Obama twice, and I would like to change that vote. What happened to GTII? Stay in touch and trust Richard Hoffman. The receiver has been appointed. I think he's an honest man. Stay in touch with him. And I don't know the other attorney. I don't think that attorney will give any updates. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Oh, QAnon. Yeah, Spiny, I never really listened. I don't know. I gave it its due. I tried to see, is there something about QAnon? I thought, is that Trump? Is that what? I don't pay attention to QAnon. I really don't pay attention. I heard from a left of center friend who thinks civil war will happen if DJT wins. I think that's right. Look, women are angry because he grabs women by the private bits, and the simp men hate him because he's Hitler. He's a racist. He makes fun of Puerto Rico, even though he doesn't. And he starts wars, even though he doesn't. He wants power, even though he hopped in a helicopter and left the White House. I don't know. It's not going to work. The country's not going to stay together. Justin Trudeau. Yeah, that's right, David. Tilo. I'm interested in Tilo, and I'm going to try to reach out to him. Tony Evers is the governor of Wisconsin. I don't know. I have no clue. Thank you, the one. Keep bids low. I'm not commenting, but I put it up there while I search for another question. I like this Big Vic's comment. As a GTII holder, I am going to ride it to Wyoming, but I am hoping the judge orders a share count to find out how far over it is oversold. Yeah, I would. Yeah, Big Vic. Wouldn't it be great if we could just say, hey, it happened here, even if we didn't make money? We could say, see, it does happen. That would be great. I don't know if they will. I didn't hear anything negative about not. I think a Mexican magician made him disappear. He said unos dos, and he was gone without a trace. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Very funny. I leave this up there. I'm not going to comment. Can Ham explain what market makers are due? Well, JC, I didn't see that question. Sorry. There really are no market makers. That's just an illusion to, in my opinion, to help the criminality. But to the extent you would call someone who is controlling the computers market makers, I just think it's a misnomer. Yeah, maybe they adjust all that. They're trying to stop the wildfire and buy time, and it works. It works. It doesn't always work. I'll try to remember to ask that again of him, because you would probably trust his answer more than mine. I didn't see it, but Ham said I think it was CNN, but maybe he said at CNBC. They were saying that the shorts have all covered in DJT. Ham doesn't believe that's anywhere near true. I said I don't trust GTII. I don't trust the shorts. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I don't enjoy all this emotional tension. I really don't. But I guess I bring it on myself by saying what I think. David and Biden stepped aside for someone 20 years younger and about 40 IQ points dumber. All right, the receiver gets 10% of the assets he claws back. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be real assets. But anyway, Spiny, I stepped where I shouldn't have. But let's say the receiver, whoever they are, gets a sense that assets were taken here, here, and here, but can only get proof of a little bit of it. Why would they agree to settle the receivership if they have more work to do on the rest of it? Because these are wealthy people they can go after. There's insurance companies. There's D&O insurance. I don't know. I'm listen to not legal advice. Listen to the receiver. Listen to the other attorney from Arizona or Nevada, wherever he's from. Don't listen to me. It's just my instincts. Somebody's asked me at least twice about it, yesterday and today. I gave my answer. I'm not going to answer it anymore. I don't see a quick solution to GTII, and I don't see one that's favorable to shareholders. But I'm not going to get. I don't want to get. I'm not. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. All right, I'm going to sign off. It's 3:00. Happy Halloween. And if Ham wants to go live tomorrow, I'll go live. If he doesn't, I don't think I'm going to go live tomorrow. I'll just take the weekend off and maybe not go live on Monday. And then maybe just save it for the election. Shakespeare was right about lawyers. I don't think all lawyers, but my sister, who is a lawyer, told me a good joke about lawyers. But when I get angry, look, when I talk about Goldman Sachs, that's shortcut for talking about that whole group of Wall Street types. When I talk about lawyers, I mean, am I supposed to highlight each and every one of the lawyers that represent each and every one of these cases? I'm talking about the lawyers representing the criminals. They got to know they're representing the criminals. That's the ones I think are dishonest and liars, the ones that represent the criminals. And how do we know the difference? What's the name of that law firm? It's not Baker Hostetler. It's anyway. I'm just going to sign off. My head is hurting. I haven't eaten, and I had a stressful day. And I do apologize sincerely and without reservation to Richard Hoffman, and I certainly never intended to cause any doubt or say anything ill about Richard Hoffman, a man who I respect. So cheers. Gibson Dunn, that's it. Gibson Dunn. Rob, it drives me crazy. I've got a Joe Biden brain. Gibson Dunn represents both sides. Anyway, all right, peace, love, and happiness. We'll catch you on the flip side, whenever that happens.